Okay, you say that when you used to ride that kind of motorcycle, you didn't have a problem riding at slow speeds. And now that you ride a bigger motorcycle, now you have those problems. All right, here's my response to that. I'm sorry, intro. Good, keep it loaded, keep it loaded, keep it loaded, keep it loaded. Better nice, I'm looking at the camera. Better nice, good, good, good. Preloaders, V.I.Preloaders, welcome back to the channel, guys. Always a pleasure to have you guys here with me. And you notice by now, or at least you should, for those of you that are here for the first time, my name's Robert. I'm a retired NYPD Highway Patrol motorcycle lieutenant. I did a wonderful 22-year career with the NYPD, 15 of those years spent with the elite NYPD Highway Patrol motorcycle unit. Name of this wonderful channel is called Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle. Your motorcycle. That doesn't mean it has to be a touring motorcycle, a Harley Davidson motorcycle. It's your motorcycle. Any kind of motorcycle that you ride, whatever it is, I want you to be the boss of it. That's what we go over on this channel. And how do you become the boss of your motorcycle? You learn to master it, meaning be able to control it between 1 and 10 miles per hour at that speed range with your feet up with confidence, making right turns, left turns, and U-turns. It's the main purpose of this channel. I also do private lessons and practice sessions. If you're interested in that, go to my website, click on where it says practice information or private lessons. And we do product installs, product reviews, and anything and everything that I feel would be beneficial to you guys, helpful or entertaining, I'm always going to share it. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is, now I've had several people say this to me, right? And one of them was recently. And here's what I'm hearing. When I rode my sport bike or my Rebel 750, my Rebel 250, whatever bike that's small, when I rode that bike, I didn't have any problems at slow speeds. But once I bought a bigger motorcycle, touring style motorcycle, heavier motorcycle, oh my God, now I have all of these problems I didn't have before. What's wrong? What's going on? All right, so here's my response to them. Now the last person that said that to me, I watched this person duck walk their motorcycle as they were starting to move. And once the motorcycle got up to speed, then they picked up their feet. Okay, so here's my theory on this, guys. Now some of this I'm gonna feel is factually based, and some of it might just be my opinion, my theory, how I see things. And how I see things is this. If you were riding this style of motorcycle, this is Scarlet, by the way, this is a 2015 Honda CB 1000R. That motorcycle's a lot lighter than this motorcycle, but it's still not light, right? I'm not gonna be able to pick that up like this, right? If you were riding that style of motorcycle and you were a preloader, right? Meaning you already knew all of the steps that we go over. Anytime you first start to move your motorcycle, make sure the motorcycle's in first gear. That's always step number 1. Cover the rear brake. That's always step number 2. Preload the throttle and keep it loaded. That's always step number 3. And keep it loaded. If you don't know what preload means, go to my website, click on the FAQ, and just read all those questions and answers, okay? All right. Step number 3 is always preload and keep it loaded. Step number 4, slowly release the clutch into the friction zone. Remember, we only have one foot on the ground because the right foot's covering the rear brake. And then step number 5, as soon as the motorcycle starts to move, pick up your left foot, right? That's always, always the 5 steps when you're first moving your motorcycle, right? All right, now, let me not say always, for the most part. Barring any unforeseen incidents or anything else that's different, that's what you're gonna be doing, right? If you're a preloader, starting out riding on one of these, and you know this, and you practice this every time you ride your motorcycle, that means you're doing it every time you ride that lighter motorcycle. When you get on a heavier motorcycle, it's not gonna be foreign because you always do it, or you always did it, right? So this is where my theory comes in. And the theory is this: when you get on the heavier motorcycle, the weight, as soon as you pick the motorcycle off of the kickstand, you're already intimidated by the weight. And why are you intimidated? Because you were not a preloader, you don't trust and believe, and as soon as that motorcycle starts to move, if it's moving slow, you're panicking. And because you're panicking and you don't trust and believe, the first thing you're gonna do, I'm not gonna say put your feet down, because you're not even gonna pick them up. You're gonna duck walk that motorcycle until it gets fast enough where it can take over. Then you're gonna pick your feet up. And I can guarantee you, that's why I say it's a theory, but it's partially factually based. I can guarantee you that you were doing the same thing on the lighter motorcycle. You didn't think about it because it's so light. You didn't have that same level of fear. You still didn't trust and believe, because I can guarantee you were still starting out with both your feet out and keeping them out. You were still coming to a stop, using the front brake, having both your feet out before you even come to a stop. That's the landing gear, right? You were doing all of that. But once you got on something heavier, where now you're consumed, your mind is consumed with the weight of this motorcycle, and that consumption is causing fear, which means you have no confidence. And that's why you're noticing all of the things you were doing wrong on the lighter motorcycle, all right? So listen, this is, you guys know that this channel is all about positivity, all right? It's all about helping each other out. And if there's criticism, it's constructive criticism, right? So there's nothing here is about being competitive, right? This is not a competition. This is not about dragging your footboards. I say this all the time. Leave your egos on the sidewalk. We're here to learn, get better, and support one another. And the only way we're gonna get better is we have to watch these videos, but more importantly, go out and practice, right? So in my practice sessions, I have a warm-up and then exercises 1 through 9 and a bonus. Now, all of these exercises build on one another, right? So I want you to do the warm-up, of course. Everybody, if you're gonna think about getting on a motorcycle, regardless of your skill level, you should be doing that warm-up. Do exercise number 1, 2, and 3, right? Start there. I get emails all the time, guys, of people telling me that either they were giving up on motorcycles, they had a motorcycle in their garage, and they were gonna sell it because they're petrified of it. They watch these videos inspire them and give them confidence, not to go out and get in a competition or ride long distances. No, just to get it out of the garage, go to a parking lot and practice these steps. And I'm guaranteeing you guys, 1 through 3 and the warm-up, practice that, build up some confidence, then go to 4. They all build on one another. So you don't have to do them all, right? And there's no timeline here. We all learn differently. So if you do 1 through 3 and you do that for 6 months, that's fine. It's not a rush, right? And there's a few preloaders and V.I.Preloaders out there that definitely have the right idea. Rob, I just bought a brand new Street Glide, headed right for the parking lot. And I'm not leaving that parking lot until I feel confident. That's what this is all about, guys. It's about you being confident, because trust me, the more confident you are, the safer you're gonna be and the more you're gonna enjoy this. All right, guys? So I'm saying this to say, guys, please, you can say that to other people, but don't waste your breath telling me that you didn't have a problem doing slow speed riding on the smaller bike, but now you have it on the bigger bike. Because if you already understand the rules here and the techniques here, then you already know the rules don't change. If you can make a U-turn, a stop from a right or a left turn from a stop on the smaller bike, you could do it on this bike. If there's power to the rear wheel, that's what's going to keep the bike up. It wants to stand up and it wants to go straight. We know that. That's why we keep it loaded and we stay in the friction zone. It's the same rule on each bike, isn't it? All right, guys. So that's all I wanted to say to you guys. a lot of the biggest obstacle that we have to deal with out there is right here, guys. It's all up here. That's why the epiphany is important. The getting struck by lightning moment is important. The only way we're going to get there is practice, practice, practice. The videos help too. You have to, sometimes watching something, bam, you can get that epiphany. We all learn differently. All right, so don't beat yourself up if you didn't get it right away, or if it's been a long time and you're still not getting it. And let me leave you with this. Sometimes people send me questions and they ask me about things that are fear-based. My fear is through the roof. My anxiety is through the roof. What do I do, Rob? And so my answer is usually the same. I can't ever answer that, because once we start dealing with that, I already tell you that your mind is the biggest contributing factor to success or failure, right? So when it comes to your fear level, remember that's an emotion, right? And it's hard. You can't change your emotion just by snapping your fingers. So, and we're all different, like I always say. So some of us have a very, very high fear level. Some to the point where it's like you almost can't breathe, right? Whereas some of our fear levels are very low. So people that have very low fear levels, they tend to pick this up quicker because they're not really concerned about, falling or getting injured or hurting their motorcycle. So that opens them up to be able to learn, right? So fear is the number one thing you have to deal with. And that's why I say, and I said this in the past video, that's why I prefer this kind of motorcycle, because this kind of motorcycle is going to not only protect the motorcycle, but more importantly, it's going to protect you if you're doing slow speed maneuvers and it falls. Again, if it falls and you keep your feet on the footboard while it's falling, and you don't pull it all the way down with you when it falls, right? Because again, if you pull it all the way down, once it hits the engine guard and the saddlebag guard, if you have them, which you should, once it hits there, if you keep pulling it, now you're going to defeat the purpose of the guard. You're going to pull it onto the fairing, right? So we don't want to do that. All right. So the point is, I'm not saying that this is not scary, but it's like anything else. We all fear what we don't know and what we don't understand. And the more you immerse yourself into this, and by immersing yourself, yes, that's physically practicing, but it's also watching the videos and watching them in an educational state of mind. Like you're watching them to learn, not just to be entertained, not to have it as white noise in the background, but you're watching it to learn. And listen, I know people that go out and actually bring their phone or their iPad, and as the video's playing, they're trying to follow along. Now, of course, these are people that can't come out and practice with me in person. But I also encourage you that if you are gonna go out and practice, record yourself. Go back and watch yourself too. Trust me, that's a huge learning tool. It's a big part of what preloaders and VI preloaders get. They come out and practice with me. Because it goes on YouTube, they actually get to not only hear me again saying what I was saying to them that day, which they probably didn't even really hear because their mind is so consumed about what's going on with the motorcycle, but not only do they get to now hear it, but they get to see themselves from a different perspective. That's huge for learning, especially when you're learning how to ride a motorcycle. All right, guys? All right, listen, that's all I'm going to say, guys, about this subject. Please, we have to start keeping in mind that I don't care what you ride, the rules don't change. And because they don't change, don't tell me I rode slow successfully on this, but I can't on this, because I'm going to call BS right there. I'm telling you now. All right, guys? All right, guys, spend more time being thankful for the things that you have and less time complaining about the things that you don't. I love you guys. Please practice, practice, practice. Preload and keep it loaded. And practice, practice, practice some more. As I always say, I don't care how many miles you've ridden. I don't care how long you've been riding your motorcycle, as far as years. None of that matters to me. All that matters to me is how often do you practice slow speed riding on your motorcycle, right? How often do you practice emergency braking? How often do you practice looking through turns? I'm talking about at speed now. All of these things have to be practiced, all right? But I'm gonna focus on the slower speed stuff now because that's the reign, right? It's 1 to 10 miles per hour. That's where bosses are created. And keep this in mind too, guys. There's different levels of bosses. You don't have to be the CEO, all right? Remember that all bosses don't have the same power. There's bosses that can fire you and there's bosses that can't. You don't have to be the CEO. You could be a low-level supervisor. But as long as you're a low-level supervisor, you're still a boss. Until next time, guys.